So this is just a quick video on what is the greatest integer function and how does it work. So the greatest integer function, it looks like this. So it's got this like double bracket type notation. So it's pretty clear like when you're trying to use this function. And what this means is that it just pairs each number with the greatest integer less than or equal to x. So just to show you how it works, so I've got the function here. So if I have, let's say, 2.1, so the greatest integer that is less than or equal to 2.1 would be 2. And then what about for 2.3? So the greatest integer that is less than 2.3 is 2. And then for 2.9, the greatest integer would still be 2, right? So then when I get to 3, well, if you have an integer, you just use that integer. But then at 3.01, what would the greatest integer less than or equal to 3.01 be? It would be 3. So if we graph this then, okay, so at 2, like we said, the greatest integer is 2. And going all the way up until 3, all the numbers between 2 and 3, they would all stick here at, they would all kind of round down to 2, right? And then when we get to 3, so at 3, we bounce to 3, and then from 3 all the way up to all the numbers between 3 and 4, not including 4, all of those decimals would round down to 3. So you kind of see how this like works, I guess. And then we can just kind of continue the pattern from here. So at 1, this represents every decimal between 1 and 2 that doesn't include 2. That will all go to 1, and then I can just, I can just continue the pattern here. So it's kind of this funky looking function. It doesn't come up a lot, but it has some occasional interesting properties. So we just like to kind of introduce it and reference it from time to time. So what about this function here? So let's say I want to graph f of x equals now greatest integer 1/2 x minus 2. Okay, so just to like plot a couple of points here. So let's say, first of all, I don't want to deal with this fraction, so I'm going to choose even values of x. So maybe just to start at least. So if I choose 2, if I were to plug 2 into this, this would become 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1 minus 2 is -1. So this would just equal -1. Okay, so I have that, but what happens now? This doesn't like totally answer kind of what I need to graph, so I guess I'm just going to choose another number. Let's choose like 3. What happens if I plug in 3? So if I plug in 3 into this, so maybe I'll just write it out. So I have 3/2 minus 2. So it's 1.5 minus 2, so that becomes -0.5. So the greatest integer that is less than 0.5 would be also -1. Okay, so let's keep going with this. What happens at 4? So at 4, oops, sorry, I should put 4 here. At 4, I'm going to get the calculation 2 minus 2, so that gives me 0. And then at 5, so at 5 I have 5/2 minus 2. So let's see, this becomes 5/2 is 2.5 minus 2, so this will equal, this equals 0.5. So the greatest integer that is less than or equal to 0.5 is 0. So you can kind of see how this is shaping up. Okay, so I think I can probably graph this now. I just have to think through the details. So I have 2 -1, so I'll just go ahead and plot that point. And I also have 3 -1 that kind of went there too. And so this is going to continue all the way until I get to 4. At 4, I jump to this next step. So you kind of just want to put in enough points until you're convinced of what your step is. And then at 4, I jump up here to 0. This will continue all the way to 6. And you can just keep plotting in things. And if you don't believe me, so if I plug in 6, this becomes 3 minus 2, that equals 1. So notice then, so here I would then jump up to 6, and then I would have another little pattern like this. And then I can just continue this pattern all the way down. So this, and then let's see, from here to here, And then, yeah, from here to here. So you can just continue the pattern. So if you're unsure, you can just fill in a table until you have enough kind of blocks that you feel confident of the pattern. Okay, so that's just your crash course into how the greatest integer function works. I know it's a little weird. I think if you just like plug in enough values, if it's messing with your head, that will really kind of help you out with it. Doesn't come up too often, but it's just something that occasionally pops up. So I wanted to make sure you've seen it.